Chapter 16. I used my osprey morph and flew behind Tobias as he led me directly to the spot I had seen the night before. I carried the frozen grasshopper in my talons. I didn't ask Tobias any questions, and he didn't say anything. He pointed out the almost invisible entrance to the skunk's lair, and then he flew away. I knew he'd go to Jake and tell him what I was doing, and I knew that I had hurt Tobias by treating him so coldly. But to tell you the truth, I didn't care right then. I just wanted to find those baby skunks. I don't know why, but somehow in my mind, those baby skunks had become very important. When Tobias was out of sight, I began to morph. It wasn't a difficult morph. I kept eyes and ears and a mouth all the way through the change, not like becoming a bug. There was the now familiar sensation of shrinking, and there was the surprise of having a huge bushy tail growing from the base of my spine. But I had morphed a squirrel before. This was pretty close. But the fur was a new experience. Oh, I'd grown fur before, but never so long and luxurious and dramatic. This was a regular fur coat, so to speak. Mostly black, but with an impressive swipe of white down my back and into my tail. The senses of the skunk were nothing dramatic. The hearing was a little better than human, maybe. The sense of smell was good. The sight, not so good as my own human vision. And the skunk's body was not swift or strong. I shuffled and sort of waddled when I tried to walk. When I tried to run, I just ended up waddling a little bit more. My front paws could grasp and hold things, but they were far inferior to my own human hands. It was the skunk's mind and instincts that seemed strangest of all. I have been inside minds that were all fear or all hunger, minds that were keyed up, like they lived on adrenaline. But this mind, this package of instincts, was so gentle, so unafraid, not cocky and swaggering like a big cat, just unafraid. I was an animal no bigger than a house cat, no sharp teeth or talons, and yet just about nothing in the forest messed with me. I felt the gentleness of absolute confidence. I could hear the mewing sounds of the skunk kits within the burrow. I waddled over to the opening and pushed my head inside. It was dark, but I could make out the four of them, tiny, helpless little things. No longer infants, but not yet able to defend themselves or hunt like skunks. I know some people think animals don't have emotions, but those kits were happy to see me, and something in the mind of the skunk was relieved and joyful to see them. I retrieved the frozen grasshopper, now completely thawed. I crawled inside that little hole in the dirt. I curled around, and the kits nuzzled up against me. I fed them the grasshopper. I knew I only had 2 hours in morph, but even though I had just gotten up a few hours earlier, I suddenly felt sleepy. The meal was done. The kits wouldn't starve, and I was sleepy and very, very peaceful. Even in my sleep, I knew what was happening to me. See, I had always loved animals, always. But now, I think I was falling out of love. Nature wasn't all cute and fuzzy. The strong ate the weak. The weak ate the weaker. It's what the Yeerks were doing, trying to make prey out of the ultimate predator, Homo sapiens. Whoomp! Hey! Hey! Are you in there? Cassie! I woke up. Where was I? It was dark. Was I in my bedroom? Was I... Oh no. Was I in the termite colony? The 4 kits still slept, curled up against me. I was in the skunk's den. What? I said. It's me, Jake. Cassie, get out of there. Now. You've been in morph for almost 2 hours. That woke me all the way up. I shot out of the burrow and instantly began to demorph. Jake was standing there with Marco. Tobias was in the tree overhead. I've seen Jake mad before, but I've never seen him this mad. What did you think you were doing? He yelled, without even waiting for me to become human. You were 10 minutes away from spending the rest of your life as a skunk. I fell asleep, I said. My mouth wasn't formed yet. Are you out of your mind? What is the matter with you? I never noticed that Jake has this vein that kind of pops out in his forehead when he's furious. Look, I'm sorry, I mumbled as I finished demorphing. He was a long way from forgiving me. This is not why we have this ability. We are not trying to save every lost skunk in the world, Jake ranted. We are an army. A small, weak, pathetic, outnumbered army. We have exactly 6 members. Tobias has already been trapped in morph. But he was trapped fighting the Yeerks. I can't believe you would nearly get yourself trapped in morph over some skunks. Marco stepped in and put a hand on Jake's shoulder and kind of pulled him back. Look, it's okay, Jake. She's okay. Thanks to Tobias, Jake snapped. No thanks to her. I didn't know what to say. I was too shocked. And to be honest, I was pretty horrified by what I'd almost done. Marco, Tobias, take a walk, okay? Jake said. Then he turned and stood with his face just inches from mine. I know you had a real bad experience last night. I've been there. I've had the nightmares. I know what's going on in your head right now. I'm fine, I muttered. Just shut up and listen to me, he said. But the anger was gone now. I care about you, Cassie. We all do. And we all need you. To win? I said. You need me to fight battles? What if I don't want to fight any more battles? What if I've had enough? I've done enough. You've done far more than enough. 100 times more than enough. But the Yeerks are still here. I shrugged. The strong eat the weak, I said. It's part of nature. Humans always win. Other animals always lose. Maybe it's our turn to lose. Jake nodded. This isn't about some race called humans. It's about people we know, people we see every day. My brother, Tom, is one of them. So why don't you go tell Tom it's okay that he's a slave to the Yeerks because it's our turn to get hammered? He turned and walked away. Jake? He stopped. Jake, my dad will have the skunk mother ready to be returned here in a day or so. I'm not going to just abandon these kits. He put his hands on his hips and glared at me. You can't stay in morph that long and you know it. I know. But I have to make sure no predators come around. I have to get them food. And I have to morph at least some of the time so they can imprint on their mother here in the wild. Look, I know it seems stupid to you and Marco and probably everyone, but I have to do this. I'll watch them, Tobias said. I've forgotten how good hawk hearing is. Tobias will keep watch. We'll work something out, Jake said. We'll save the lousy skunks. After all, it's not like we have anything else to do, aside from saving the world. Thanks, Jake, I said. And sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I'll be okay now, I think. He smiled his slow smile. I'll be okay too, Cassie, as long as you're around. From a little ways off to our left, I heard Marco made a loud gagging noise. It made me laugh. I must have been feeling better to be able to laugh. Chapter 17. Well, this is more than slightly insane. Marco said. It was later that same day, Sunday evening. We were all gathered around the skunk's den. We're going to raise little stinky skunk babies? What's so insane about that? Rachel asked sharply. Good old Rachel. She thought it was ridiculous, too. But she's my best friend, and always backs me up. They're skunks, Marco said, looking from Rachel to Jake to Axe, like he was the only normal person in a mental ward. They're cute, Rachel said, glaring at Marco and generally looking like a girl who never used the word cute. Ah, I see. Cute. Well, that certainly explains everything. Jake cut in. Cassie can't take them to the clinic or they may get used to humans. They're young. They'll imprint. So we're taking care of these skunks until Mommy Skunk can come back home from the hospital. Are skunks a sacred animal to humans? Axe asked. All animals are sacred to Cassie, Marco said. She's Dr. Doolittle and that animal guy who comes on Letterman, all rolled into one. But you eat some animals, Axe pointed out. Cows, pigs, sheep, dogs. We don't eat dogs, I said. In some countries they do. I read it in the World Almanac. We had given Axe a World Almanac to help him learn about Earth. Ever since then, he became an expert on useless information. He could tell you the per capita income of Tanzania, or the long jump record at the Olympics. Well, we don't eat dogs in this country, Rachel said. Do you eat cats? Excuse me? Jake interrupted. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. He was obviously getting a headache. I could understand why. Look, here's the deal. We are about 300 yards from the edge of the Yerk logging compound. They have sensors. They have guards. Tobias is up top keeping an eye out, so we're safe for now. But we can't get careless. Cassie, tell them what we want to do. Okay, while we're in school tomorrow and the next day, Axe and Tobias will protect the den. Axe will morph the mother skunk from time to time. Tobias will patrol from above. I'll bring Tobias frozen food so he doesn't have to hunt during that time. Ooh, lean cuisine frozen mouse entrees, Marco teased. I heard that, Tobias said from somewhere up above the treetops. I know, Marco said, grinning smugly. Then, after school and through the night, the rest of us will work shifts. I'll do most of the skunk morphing, but in between times, we'll have to have Jake and Rachel and Marco to help keep up patrol. Marco held up his hand. Yes, Marco? I asked. Do we get some Save the Skunks t-shirts and bumper stickers? No one has to do this, I said. Look, I know it seems stupid. Nah, it's not stupid, Marco said. Let's see. I'm behind in my homework. My dad thinks I've joined a gang because I'm never around. I don't sleep much because every time I try, I'm suddenly a termite again and I wake up screaming. I never get to just sit around and watch TV. And in my spare time, I have to help figure out how we're going to keep the Yerks from turning some guy named Ferrand into a controller so they can wipe out the forest and hunt down the bird boy and the universe's only almanac-reading Andalite. I mean, I knew the middle school years would be tough, but this is a little much. Jake gave Marco a long, skeptical look. So, in other words, you'll be glad to help. For once, it was Jake who made everyone laugh. Even Marco. Marco shrugged. You know, actually it's kind of a relief finding out Cassie is crazy. We know Rachel's nuts. We know I'm crazy. Cassie's been the only sane one for so long. Welcome to the loony bin, Cassie. Save the skunks. Hug the trees. Let dogs vote. The others all laughed. I laughed a little too. Marco always made fun of my being an environmentalist. Usually it was okay, because I knew what I believed in. But now his humor cut just a little deeper. I wasn't saving the whales, or the panda, or the spotted owl. I was saving a handful of skunks. There were plenty of skunks in the world. They weren't exactly endangered. It all went back to the termite queen. A bug. I had killed a bug, and for some reason, that had shaken my deepest faith. Maybe Marco was right. Maybe I was crazy. Chapter 18. Over the next 2 days, we protected and nurtured a foursome of baby skunks. And as impossible as it seems, it worked. More or less. Maybe I'm kidding myself, but I think the others started enjoying it, too. Typically, it was Marco who decided, after his first shift guarding the skunks, that the kits needed names. Joey, Johnny, Marky, and CJ, he announced, like it was obvious. The Ramones, the godfathers of punk rock. They would be honored. The one with the white stripe that kind of goes really wide, that's Joey. Now Johnny... At first, I was the only one to morph the skunk mother. Then Axe did it. Then the others, one by one. I almost felt jealous. Right after school 3 days later, I went to the skunk burrow and found Tobias flying cover above the burrow. Hi, Cassie. How's it going, Tobias? Well, we had a little excitement. A hungry badger stopped by to check things out, but I chased him off. So the kids are all right? There are still 4 of them, if that's what you mean, Tobias answered. But they won't stay inside. They keep coming out and looking around, especially Marky. This isn't good, especially if they do it at night. I morphed into the skunk mother and called inside the den. Tobias was right. These kids were restless. They were growing fast, and they instinctually wanted to go outside into the great big world beyond the burrow. I think I'm going to take them for a walk, I told Tobias. Is that a good idea? Sure, why not? You should take a break. Stretch your wings. Tobias was relieved to have an excuse to take off. But as soon as he was gone, I started to have doubts about my brilliant idea of taking the kids out for a stroll. How could I keep track of them? What if they wandered off? But then, while I was debating, Marky made a wild dash outside, and I had to scamper up to catch him. As soon as I appeared, though, the kit went meekly to stand behind me. One by one, the other 3 babies came out, and to my amazement, they lined up like obedient first graders. Okay, I said, although of course the kids couldn't understand me. Let's take a walk. I waddled slowly away, took about 10 steps, then turned to look back over my shoulder. The 4 of them were all lined up behind me. I was their mother, as far as they knew, and they were programmed to follow their mother. I waddled off, feeling a little strange, but happy. We walked that way for half an hour. We paused to sniff things from time to time, various animal scents mostly. And then I realized something. We weren't supposed to just be going for a stroll. The kids were hungry. I was their mother, and it was my job to provide for them. If I didn't teach them to catch bugs, they wouldn't survive. Skunks eat some plants, but they also eat crickets and mantises and grasshoppers and even shrews and mice. I stopped walking and looked back at my kits. 4 almost identical little balls of black and white fuzz. 4 curious little faces watching me, waiting to see what I was doing, eager to learn. I had been feeding them thawed frozen grasshoppers and thawed mice I'd brought to them from the clinic, just as I'd been giving Tobias food since he was too busy to hunt properly. But these skunk kits couldn't be fed by humans all their lives. Suddenly, a crashing sound, something rushing through the woods, careless, wild, noisy, and it was coming right towards us. I started to lead the kits back to the burrow, but the noise was getting closer. It was coming too quick. I tried to smell what it was, but the breeze was blowing the wrong way. Then, roof, 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 roof. A dog. A wolf would have known better. A wolf would have seen the black and white fur and decided he had an appointment somewhere else. A bear would have known. Just about any wild animal would have known better into annoy an adult skunk. But this big, happy dog was not wild. He lived with humans. He knew absolutely nothing about skunks. Without even thinking, I turned my back to the dog. I raised my tail in warning. The dog kept coming. Drool was dribbling from one side of his mouth, and his tongue was hanging out on the other side. And he was having about as good of a time as a dog can have. He was in the woods, and he had a bunch of little black animals to play with. The kids were still lined up. They were watching me intently. It almost made me want to laugh, if I could have. It was a big moment for them. They were about to learn why no sensible animal picked on adult skunks. I had no experience in spraying, but the skunk mind within my own knew exactly what it had to do. I aimed. I looked over my shoulder to judge the distance. I targeted that dog's face, and I fired. Just at the instant when I fired, I had the strange sensation that I knew this dog from somewhere, but it was too late by then. Way too late. At a distance of 10 feet, the spray hit with the accuracy of a laser-guided smart missile. The dog stopped dead in his tracks. The look in his eyes was sheer horror. How could it be? How could the little black and white creature have done this to him? And then I heard something that made me feel really bad. "Homer, what's the matter, boy?" Jake asked. Oh, Homer! I told you not to follow me into the woods." Homer whined pitifully. Jake, Marco, Rachel, and Axe all came up at a run. Marco was already laughing. "You hosed Homer," Marco giggled. "Cassie sprayed Homer. Wait, that is Cassie, right?" I seriously considered pretending to be some other skunk. "Sorry, Jake," I said. "Man, that is nasty," Rachel commented. "No offense, Cassie, but I mean, gag, ugh." "Fascinating," Axe said. "That is possibly the worst thing I have ever smelled." Homer tried to nuzzle up to Jake, but as much as Jake loves his dog, he was not going for it. "I don't think so, big guy. I told you to stay home. But oh no, Homer, you had to come with me. Now go home. Go home, boy." Homer decided home might be a better place than the forest after all. He trotted off, tail between his legs. "I believe the smell is causing me to become deranged," Axe said, calmly. "I may have to run away in panic." "Take me with you," Marco muttered. "Well, this is perfect," Jake said. "Wonderful. My parents are going to so appreciate it when Homer gets back to the house reeking of skunk. Man, let's move away from this spot, okay? I mean, geez, that is just awful." We moved away from the scene of the stink, back toward the den. I led the kids inside, where they seemed happy to curl up and sleep. It had been an exciting outing for them. I went back outside and demorphed. "Homer will be okay if you bathe him in tomato juice and leave him outside for a few days," I said to Jake. "Sorry." "Not as sorry as Homer is," Jake said. "But we have bigger problems. Look, Cassie, we came to find you and Tobias. That guy Ferrand? Axe and Marco tapped into your computer in the logging camp." "Yeah," Marco grinned. "The Axeman knows his way around computers." "Yeah, well, he found something out. Ferrand isn't arriving this weekend. He's coming early. He's coming to cast the final vote on the logging in this forest. In fact, he'll be here in about an hour."